All right. Today we got some very important topic that we're going to share. So if you're thinking about buying a home, you're a first-time home buyer, we're going to talk about how to build your credit to a 620 FICO score, so that way you can qualify for a home loan faster. And let's say you have a score less than 620, or maybe just no score at all. I'm going to cover some very important topics on how to rapidly build up your credit score so that way you can qualify. So let's take a look at this. We actually do loans down to 500 FICO score. So if you have a 500, we have a loan that we can actually get our clients. So basically, it all depends on the person that's buying the home. People ask me that all the time, like, hey, Dave, what should I do? Should I wait till my score gets to 620 or even higher than that? And I said, well, everyone's a little different. Everyone has different needs and what they're looking for and why they're actually buying. So no, there's not one particular straight answer for that. So it really depends up to your needs, right? And if you're thinking about buying a home, though, one thing that we want to take a look at is one of the things that underwriters look at is credit. Okay, could that make a huge difference in your interest rates? That's another question I get. Well, that depends on the type of loan. If you're a first-time home buyer, with minimal down payment, there's a pretty good chance that you're probably going to apply for down payment assistance or even FHA loan. Down payment assistance, most of them combined an FHA loan. Not all of them, but most of them. We have 75 different down payment assistance programs that we work with, and all have their different ways to qualify. But for the most part, a lot of our wholesale lenders that we work with, if we're applying for an FHA loan, and it's even if it's down payment or not, down payment assistance or not, either way, I find a lot of them when we start pricing out different wholesalers out there, a lot of them don't really have a difference in with the credit score. There's not a huge difference, or if there's any difference at all on the interest rates. So, I look at it this way, that first-time home buyers should have a little bit more flexibility when buying a home, including their credit, right? So I look at it that way, that's why a lot of these wholesale lenders, they don't penalize them with a higher interest rate and make it harder for them to qualify. So if somebody has a 620 versus a 680, they're not going to see anything different on the interest rate, at least working with us, because we're wholesale brokers. We wholesale these loans. We find wholesale lenders, and we find the best loan programs that matches our current client situation. So, with that in mind, just use it as a rule of thumb of trying to get to a 620 or not. I do want to point out, though, if you're looking for down payment assistance, it's very important that you have a minimum score of 620. Down payment assistance, for the most part, most down payment assistance programs out there require a 620. So it's going to open up a lot more options for you. So again, FHA has more low down payment options, conventional, depending on your scenarios. But on a conventional program, if you do have at least 5% down payment, you may look at a conventional program to see if we can get you with a 5% down payment. But what we do is we'll compare FHA, conventional. We'll go over the advantages and even disadvantages over one or the other, right? So once you go below 620, again, your options do shrink. And above, you gain a lot of leverage in the market, a lot more options out there. So the first thing we want to talk about is step number one. We're going to go over these steps on how to increase your credit score as quick as possible. Okay, so if you don't have any active credit cards, or your score is low, the fastest way is to build is with a secured credit card. It's not the only option. This is where it almost acts like a savings account. You can open up, it's a credit card. You send, let's say $200-$300, and now that becomes a trade line, and you start making payments on that of minimal down payment of $20-$30 a month. Before you know it, it starts reporting to the credit bureaus, and you now have a good trade line after a few months. Now, secured lines are really designed for somebody that has a lot of times if they have some derogatory on their credit. So derogatory is lates on their credit, low FICO scores. There's some sort of just collections accounts, things like that. Okay, so you don't have a strong history, and you have some of more of the credit, charge-offs, things like that. So you're probably gonna have to look for a secured credit card to reestablish that credit. So we're gonna put a list of those in the blog so that you can take a look at that. And like Open Sky is great, Chime is another, and there's several secured credit cards companies out there that do this. Okay, and it's really these companies specialize in helping clients reestablishing and rebuilding credit quickly. Step number 2, use credit like a lender wants to see, right? So let's kind of go over that. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can really boost your scores very fast, okay? Want to make sure that as you use your credit, and you definitely want to use your credit, because remember, the credit bureaus, which are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they're the ones that put together that credit score, okay? And that credit score is going to be based on how you utilize your credit. So I've seen people where they get a credit card and they don't use it at all, and they just pay it off, and nothing's going to happen because there's no history of what's being taken place. How is that person actually utilizing their credit and what they're doing on a month-to-month basis? Okay, meaning, are they using it or abusing it? Using it and paying it off, they love to see that. Using it and not paying it off, that starts to create more of maybe somewhat of abuse to the credit, right? And that might not be good. Okay, if you're going to use your credit, you want to use your credit cards, by the way, but you want to keep your balance under the ideal situation under 10%. So a lot of people say under 30%. However, I've looked at thousands of reports over my lifetime, right? I've been doing this for 2 decades now. And there's a trend out there. So I'm going to share with you what the trend is that no one talks about. The trend is that people that I've worked with, thousands upon thousands of credit reports that I've seen over my career, I've seen the highest the highest scores in the industry, which are over 800. And what's triggering all of that is that usually they just only have a few accounts, by the way. And when they use that credit every month, they pay it off. You see, the credit bureaus, my understanding of seeing this is that they say, wow, this person charges on that credit card and is disciplined enough to make the full payment. Okay. And when they do that every single month, that consistency on it, they look at that as discipline. They have great discipline with their credit. A lot of credit repair companies, I've talked to a bunch of them out there, and they'll tell us, my clients, that keep it under 30% or 10% and just make those payments on time. I've heard, pay multiple payments throughout the month. So that way the credit bureaus pick up that you just pay more times than the normal. You're paying in advance. And also you're paying more than the minimum payment. Yeah, that's all true, no doubt. Okay. However, once you get this credit established after a few months, I believe what I've seen from the credit reports that I've reviewed personally, I've seen them pay it off. Okay. Maybe you may not want to do that the very month or first month or two, by the way, because it takes some time establishing this credit with the credit bureaus. What you're doing is you're creating a track record. Okay. So why does this matter? Is because payment history, based on my research, is 35% of your score. Okay. And then you have credit utilization. It's another 30% of your score. So with those two things, it's over half your score, right? It's just controlled by these two factors. So this is why it's so important when you do get a credit card, you paying on that thing multiple times. If you have the discipline, maybe it's 2-3 times a month to get that payment down, right? And you're exceeding the minimum monthly payment. That's very important as well, because that's going to start to pay down that credit. It's going to create a good payment history as well as that credit utilization. Step number 3. So after you've been doing this with one card, right around month 2 or 3 of these on-time payments that we just went over, open up a second secured account, secured credit account. However, if your scores are above about 580, you may be able to open up just a non-secured credit card, and I've listed them in the blog as well, where you can apply with one of those companies there. It's unsecured. That means it just reports better, by the way. I've noticed that there's different creditors out there, and I'll give you an example. You got banks and credit unions, okay? And then you got these credit card companies, okay? And these credit card companies, they're just a little bit easier to get qualified for. And I believe that the credit bureaus out there, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they know the difference. They know that if somebody has a Bank of America card, Wells Fargo, or Chase, they're going to give, when they paying off those cards every month, it's almost as if their score is going to shoot up faster. So ideally, you want to get a credit card with your bank, right? But sometimes if you have low FICO scores, they're just not going to approve you, right? What I've seen, though, and I have good experience in this, of seeing trends, is that anyone has money in a bank of more than 10, 15, 20, 40, $50,000, you may want to even start there first, because they're looking at that you bank there, you're a customer. But what they're also looking at is, as long as you don't have bounce checks and things like that, overdrawns, but if you got a good history in your banking, I would apply with your local bank as well, because that might have a better impact on their scores. But if you got denied, don't worry. Do not give up. It's not the end of the world, right? You have all different types of sources that you can immediately get credit today, right? So that means you can start reestablishing credit really fast. Another option is maybe you want to add a second account with an authorized user on a family member's credit card. So, that can help with establishing credit. But more importantly, what it does do is that when you start applying for credit, they'll pick up on that and say, well, this is authorized user. It's not the same as a credit card. You're an authorized user. And if somebody else is willing to trust you with their money, maybe we should trust you as well. So that's why I think it's very important that if you're looking to establish credit as you apply with new credit card companies after month 2 or 3, is look for an authorized user, maybe with the family member's credit card. This is going to improve your total credit history, your credit depth, and also the profile strength, right? More importantly, it's going to speed up your path to 620 FICO score. Avoid these killers, these credit killers in step number 4. No late fees, okay? You don't want to be, when it's due on the 15th, pay it ahead of time. Don't pay it on the 15th or even late, okay? Do not max out your credit cards. Avoid doing that. Don't even bring it out once you achieve that 10%. So just look at it this way. It's a $300 credit card. You can even just put no more than $30 on your credit card before the next month, okay? You can pay it off immediately after, but you can't put more money on there to the next month, because the credit bureaus, the credit card companies, they'll see the $30 on there. You pay it off, but it takes a lot of times with these credit card companies, a whole 30 days for it to refresh. So you thinking this is a big mistake. This is a very good information I'm sharing with you that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. It takes 30 days for that to refresh. So here you're thinking, why pay it off the $30 and let me go charge another $30. It doesn't work that way with a lot of these credit card companies. You're going to exceed that 10%. Sometimes I see people thinking they're doing it right, they're doing it wrong, and now they're above that 30%, and their credit score is not having increasing as fast as they want to. Okay. Step number 5, here's a realistic timetable, the timeline for a 620 FICO score. And if you follow this system correctly, you're going to see the results that I'm talking about here. So 30 to 60 days, the scores begin to generate or actually improve. Okay. Right around the 90 day to 120 days, it's going to be more noticeable. 4 to 6 months, right in that range. You're going to start to see your scores get it right around a 580 to 600. You do this correctly, it may even be more than that. But I'm just setting realistic expectations. So if you want to buy a home in 6 months from now, after about 6 to 9 months, you're going to reach that 620 FICO score. So when's the best time to start on this? As soon as possible, right? The sooner you start working on this, the sooner you're going to get to the 620, and you're going to make a huge difference with your credit. You're going to no longer be a renter, a tenant, and now you're going to be owning a home. So here's the bigger picture. This is not just about approval, or it's not just about the score. It's about the approval, right? So the approval is very important. Now, here's the facts, okay? When you start shopping for a home, let's just say that, the seller, even though this may not be probably the thing you want to do, but unfortunately, sellers will request a copy of FICO scores, okay? Technically speaking, there's some debates about all that stuff, but from my experience, the ones that do not show their FICO scores, if there are multiple offers on the property, the person with the higher FICO score, or the person showing the credit scores, and they're signing off on, with their lender and with their agent, please release my scores to the seller. They're going to have higher priority over the person not doing that, even if the other person has a higher FICO score, right? So this is another reason why you want to get to that 620 mark. Now, I've done thousands of transactions. Will this make or break somebody buying the home? That's a question I get all the time. If I have a lower FICO score, absolutely not. Okay. It does not make or break you buying a home, but we want to put a good plan together so that way you can be a homeowner when you want to, when the time is right for you. So credit card companies that work with bad credit, I posted a few links below. You can go with a secured account or non-secured. Like I mentioned, you could check with your banks. That's another type of, I would say another avenue. Credit unions, if you bank with a credit union, check with them. And you can do this all online. It's very simple to do. We got the links on this blog here when you're getting ready to do that. And then, of course, the unsecured options are very useful. You want to check out with Capital One, First Progress, Advent as well, Chime. There's a couple others. I listed all the banks. I've also put together an execution strategy. So the things that you want to do first, then after that, number 2, if you get denied, where to go from there, and number 3, and all the steps that are required to reestablish your credit score quickly. So if you have any questions with this, feel free to reach out. We can go through a mortgage plan call. Even if you don't have any credit or derogatory credit, look, I'm here to help you achieve your heart's desires. And a lot of times it takes a plan. It takes a mortgage plan where we can go over prices, monthly payments, review some credit options, and put a good plan into place. And also a timeline as well. You see, every person that's buying a home today had a plan in place. I want to be that person where I can help you achieve your heart's desires with a solid plan and a great strategy. If you like some more information about that, just visit us at freedomchoicelending.com or give us a call at the office. Phone number is 866-587-6927. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.